Good morning.
Hey, there we
How's
go.
it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. How about yourself?
Um, yeah, pretty good.
Hopefully my internet's not too choppy on Zoom.
Nice. Are you in a new place?
Yeah, I'm at my mum's place and she's slightly rural and her internet's like one of those Wi-Fi local kind of network situations.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
bounced off a couple of satellites up the hill.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, good luck. So it looks like the recording started, which is good, so we don't need to swap Zoom meetings this time. Um, we could give it another minute or so and see if anyone else joins, and then get into it.
Sounds good.
Just having a read of the agenda from the last one.
I was going through the code review blocking non-blocking issue. Keep opening it and then reading the first paragraph and then switching to something else. So I need to actually read it properly.
Hmm.
Hey,
Hello.
Hi,
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
no worries. Um, should we get started? So, yeah, first thing we could do is just a quick review of the other meeting, um, and then any discussion topics that we wanted to raise ourselves. Um, yeah, so for a start, we have this review process issue. Um, I had a read of that yesterday. The gist of it is that um, we have um, we have like often follow-ups and um, yeah, like blocking and non-blocking comments on merge requests. And the idea behind this is to like define the different like those things a little bit more and maybe have come up with some levels of like not just blocking or non-blocking, but things like it's non-blocking but should be a like fast follow-up type thing, or is like less important and left to the discretion of um the AMER author and stuff. So yeah, by defining that process, then we can have like some more clarity around follow-ups. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, as a maintainer, I'll often do like put comments in that say like, yeah, I don't want to block this from being merged because it's like adding value, which is basically what the code review docs say to do. But but I would still want some such and such to be addressed because otherwise we're going to have some technical debt that lives in the product forever or whatever. Yeah, so and then it's sort of another thing that some maintainers do, and we've had this discussion like many times in the past, in the front end group at least, is there's kind of a mix of how much the maintainers will like follow up on the follow-ups. So some maintainers actually will keep a list of all of the follow-up issues that have been created out of things they've reviewed and will chase up the authors to make sure that they're actually getting done. Yeah. And we don't like it would be nice if we almost had like a sort of first class concept for that. That was a idea that I raised. Or at least like improving the follow-up issue template a little bit to maybe like add a follow-up label or something like that.
Yeah, I like the idea of separating at least like immediate versus like non-immediate follow-up.
Mhm.
Because I've seen I was working on something telemetry thing on VS Code, and I was just digging around and found this tech debt that was sitting around for a couple of months. So it's, yeah, I assume it's not easy to like surface up unless it's not immediately addressed, or maybe it wasn't addressed
Mm.
because it wasn't actually that relevant to address it that
Yep.
immediately. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of a gray area
Hmm.
at the moment because like probably an issue got created for that follow-up and then the author would have maybe intended to do it next, but then if something more pressing comes along,
Hmm.
which often happens in our team, then
Yeah.
those things can quite easily get lost.
Hmm.
Especially because we have this prioritization process of like putting the deliverable label on things. So if it has that label and it's in the current milestone, then that's like clearly the top priority.
Hmm.
So you can see how something that doesn't have that classification can easily get lost.
Hmm.
So yeah, immediate follow-up is like kind of considered as part of that same issue that you're working on, which was a deliverable. And then the next level down is kind of yeah, it's like you can address it in the current milestone. This is Thomas's proposal, by the way.
Hmm.
He was saying you can address it in the current milestone or like basically properly fill out the issue, so that
Hmm.
it it could be ready to be picked up as part of like a tech debt or maintenance piece. So yeah, no, I think
I like
I like the idea. I think it's good.
I like that a lot. I've definitely had situations where I've had a follow up that I've intended to do immediately, but the milestones rolled over and the new lot of milestone work has come in, which has then meant, my plate's full already with this thing.
Yeah.
So having that really defined is great.
Uh-huh. Um, just gonna move around the notes a little bit to the APAC ones first. So my one suggestion I have is if we formalize this follow-up process, should we contribute this back to the main development docs? Because I think everything we talked about and sort of everything on that issue is like actually relevant, not just for our teams. Um, and I think there's a trap that we could fall into with the editor extensions or like TypeScript teams like processes will diverge from the main monolith, and it could be like harder for people to jump in between. And I think in a lot of cases there is a good reason for the process to differ. Like, yeah, the monolith is definitely, because it's like structured differently. And the way the releases work and stuff are like naturally going to lead to different day-to-day processes as well. But I think this is a case where we could probably feed it back into the monolith. Maybe even just open like the discussion there with the same sort of background. Oh, sorry, we're both typing.
Sorry, I was just go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. It looks like there was some voting results, and it was very flat on the issues. So there was one issue that had 2 votes. Everything else had 1. So I don't know how we're going to decide like what to bring in next time.
How many did we bring in last time? I'm just trying to see.
The top one from last time included workflow into web ID. I'm working on that one at the moment. So that got brought in. I think some other ones like the release process automation might be Andre that picked that up. Yeah. That's automating the language server releases. So yeah, it looks like the first couple got picked up.
Yeah, October one's tough since I don't know in what order we want to pick it up when we don't have that many counts.
Yeah, but it seems like that first one with the standardized extension build / bundle process could be picked up at least.
Yeah, there's a bit of chat of that in the previous meeting. I definitely agree with what Andre was saying about finding the current scripts quite easy to jump into just because they're all JavaScript and Node. I find it quite simple to dig in and find out what's going on in there. I would probably struggle a bit more sort of working in the build space if it was in something like Make. I do appreciate the structure that Make brings to the build.
I haven't used Make much, apart from using it to create C programs, which is a bit different to building bundles. Yeah, so I'm not so familiar with the pros and cons. And there was also a discussion about there's a couple of introduce / change pattern bullet points. So there's one which was decide which dependency injection to use for TypeScript systems. Yeah. definitely worth having a look at that issue. And Alan, you've got the next one.
Yeah, this was something that came out of an AMER comment to swap the array syntaxes over. Definitely seems like it could be something that could be linted for. So I open an issue and pose the question of which style have we kind of discussed this, or is this just how it is? Yeah, my personal preference is the array T style rather than the T brackets, but I completely appreciate the fact that all of the projects are using the other style so far, so it would be a bit of an undertaking to swap over for not a lot of value. Yeah, I guess my main thing is getting Alan rule in so that I don't have to remember. It'll just fix it for me when I write one.
Are they completely equivalent? Or like are there cases where you'd have to break the linter?
Completely equivalent, except sometimes you'll need additional parentheses when you're using the square bracket syntax, depending on what it's an array of.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul, just reading the issue, Paul's argument was it's too late for array bracket T now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was also interesting hearing.
Oh, go ahead.
It was interesting hearing on the recording, people saying that most of the TypeScript projects they've worked on in the past have been square bracket style, whereas the ones that I've always come across have usually been the array style. I wonder if it's like an ecosystem thing. Sorry, what were you saying, G?
Oh, I was going to say I personally prefer the type square bracket too, just because it's slightly shorter. And then, and if because usually if the type is like a bit more complex, we usually use alias. So I don't know, it looked more simplified to me with the type and then just square bracket, just personal preference.
Yeah, I'll update that issue and make it more focused on just linting. And hopefully we can get that scheduled at some point.
Cool. Sounds good.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is like something, I was going to ask this about the specific issue, but actually could be a more general discussion point. But so something like this is probably a small piece to introduce and then like a bit of migration. So it might end up being like actually a larger task. Should we wait for things like this to be scheduled, or should we always have like a little bit of headroom per engineer in each milestone to be able to do tech debt, or sort of like style cleanup, things like this? I guess that's part of this. It's part of these meetings as well. It's if we have like some prioritized tech debt items, then it makes it easier to just bring them in like formally into the milestone. But yeah, I'm curious, like, to know what people think. Like, yeah, should everything that we work on be scheduled?
I prefer the flexibility of just being able to jump in and do things. Like this one in particular should be very small. I think there's only 2 or 3 dozen cases to be swapped over, so it's not like a massive migration or anything. I guess the danger with that is that then people don't take that time to do those things because the scheduled work takes priority.
Mhm.
Yeah, a challenge to balance it.
It'll be interesting to see how much of a tech debt get addressed, like per milestone or some sort of data on that. And if we don't actually address it enough, then maybe it's good to schedule it. But if not, yeah, flexibility sounds good.
Mhm. Just writing up the notes for that.
We don't have any rating on tech debts, right? Like what's like priority, I guess.
No, no. Yeah, until Thomas brought in this voting process, there was actually not like I don't think we even really labeled tech debt items consistently. So yeah, it's yeah, all we have is the sort of voting system, which is like I guess it's not quite priority, it's more like interest or yeah, how much this is maybe how much something is like bothering people or causing tech debt pain. But yeah. Yeah, it could be interesting to do like an actual prioritization process. Maybe come up with like a rubric so we can easily rank tech items. Like if it's done in a way that anyone can do it, then we could have like the whole team, like individuals in the whole team just do the prioritization, like triage of tech debt items as they get created. That could be quite good. I think there might be an issue about this already, actually. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I mean, maybe it's on the issue for the actual, like for this meeting. I think there might have been some discussion. Maybe maybe in the last one. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. Like uh yeah, especially now that we've done this a couple of times and we're like familiar with the tech debt list. I think it would be quite easy to add prioritization to the issues. Cool. Does anyone have anything else that they want to bring in?
Not for me.
Nope.
Cool. So I might end the recording then.
Sounds good.
Thanks everyone.
See you. See ya.